Hey everybody. So today is going to be a little interesting of a flow. So I am curious to see how it goes virtually. What you will need for today's practice is either a singular block or two blocks. If you don't have that on hand, no worries. You're going to grab yourself potentially a book, and it's going to be one that you can stand on top of, so think of like a Hardy book. If you have none of those props, no worries, we can go ahead and do the exact same sequence, no props necessary. So we're going to either think a sturdy book or a sturdy something that you can stand on top of, potentially a block, potentially two blocks, so that you create a broader surface. Cool, so with that, we will be doing a little bit of balancing today, so I want us to start down on our mat just to touch base with our ankles and our feet. So if we can go ahead and lay ourselves down, we're going to plant both feet on the floor to start, and then just encourage our left leg to go up towards the sky. And with our left leg high, I want you to do your best to isolate any movement into your toes. I know that we've done this in a previous video. So as we isolate movement to toes, just check in, try to ask the ankle to remain still, the knee, as well as the leg bones to stay still. And you might try to spread and soften them a few times. And what we're doing is we're just building communication right down to the space that is far often forgotten about, right? They're kind of tucked away, squished inside shoes. And then we might tap into the ankle. We'll see if we can't ask the foot to tell us yes. Attempting to find its fullest range between these two movements. And we'll see if we can ask it to tell us no. You'll notice that it's much more minimal within its range or accessibility with this position. And then we get to my favorite, the old ankle rolls, releasing what I call the Rice Krispies, or those clicks and clacks that are sometimes held within our joint spaces. And let it be mindful, so encourage your movement to be slow. Allow yourself to truly feel what is going on in that space. Sometimes there's little areas of shakiness. Sometimes we experience hesitations. And if you do end up noticing any of that, see if you can't slow it down even further in that space. And then we'll park that left foot down. We'll do the same thing with our right leg. So you're going to take your time trying to incorporate any bit of movement into your toes. Noticing if your hands are trying to come in and help, see if you can soften and relax those. And then we'll try to ask our foot to say yes. We point, we flex, right? Dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. We ask it to tell us no, inversion and eversion. I believe eversion is when the sole of the foot's pointing inwards or outwards. I'm at a loss here right now. And see if we can't roll them around. I'm going to encourage myself to slow it down, because I know that my mind and body like to work quite quickly through these, we call them regress movement patterns. And we should start to feel a little bit of sensation, encouraging our joint space to wake up. If I took this a little bit further down the leg, so let's keep that right leg high and ask our left leg to follow. We're then going to widen our legs and ask our knees to bend, pulling them down in towards our armpits. And we'll recognize our happy baby shape, but we're going to forego the assist of any hands, seeing if we can keep our feet flexed like they're trying to walk on the ceiling tiles. Right, now yours might look more like this, and that's okay. Right, all of the shapes are not going to look the same. We want to do our best to maintain the knees pulling in, and wherever our feet are, just ask them to be flexed. What if we push up through our heels and just try to straighten both legs, pull the heels towards one another. Like pull the heels apart, our legs spread, our knees bend, and we have come back to our happy baby. And we're trying again, we're gonna push the heels up, straighten the legs, draw the heels together, pull the heels apart, bend the knees, take a big breath in and out. We're going to bend our knees, heel towards our butt, and then see if we can just park our feet down on top of the floor. Maybe we add some movement here, encouraging the legs to somewhat sway from left to right. Yeah, and then we'll just use this opportunity to roll to any side. Top hand's going to essentially try to push you right up into a tall sitting position. Moving right along here, I'm going to forego any upper body movement at this point as I want to keep this class relatively short. Let's come right into a tabletop, so hands and knees. All right, from our hands and knees, we're going to take a few rounds of our cat-cow movement. And perhaps we stick with that traditional variation. And then we can always check in how we feel. If we wanted to throw in any intuitive movement, by all means. Getting creative, we can rearrange the position of our hands. We can encourage ourselves to rock a little bit from left to right or forwards and backwards. Yeah, really use the time on your mat to give yourself permission to just kind of move and articulate in new ways. Getting into the areas of the body that you might not often find a whole lot of movement throughout our typical day. We offer ourselves, we'll say, just a few more rounds. Let's put that on a little playful on our mat. We're going to challenge this shape, creating what I call a hovering tabletop. So we're going to take a peek at our hands first, just ask them to spread nice and wide, and see if we can't also push down through all of our fingertips, as well as the wrists of ours. Toes are going to tuck under, and we're just going to see, can I hover my knees any bit up off the floor? The answer could be yes. The answer could absolutely be no. So if you need to, those knees tap right back down, no questions asked. Right, wherever you found yourself, see if you can't commit to a round or two of breath. And then maybe we rock the hips towards the heels. Right, noticing how the weight is primarily back in the legs at this point. And we'll re-rock shoulders over the wrists. We'll try to maintain the hovering of the knees. Or if needed, we can create the same movement, knees on the mat. When we've had enough of this, let's go ahead and create our first downward facing dog. Always giving yourselves the opportunity to choose whether you want stillness or movement. Again, that movement can always be as playful, creative, or traditional as you'd like. It's okay, I have to stop it anyways. And from our downward facing dog, I'm going to once again tap those knees back to the mat. From here, let's think of reaching our right leg back behind us. And we're going to hover the toes right up off the floor. Pull the heel right towards the bum and see if we can't draw that thigh right in towards the belly. Creating some movement here at the hips. Let's think of a dog peeing on the old fire hydrant by reaching that right leg out next to you. Go ahead and swing that leg around and just think of creating any type of circular movement here. And as we create the circular movement through our right leg, I want you to firmly press down to that right palm. Yeah, give yourself that glued anchor point. And then perhaps we try to reverse that direction. And let's go one more time around. Then I want to see if you can step that foot to the outside of your right hand, right? It may not come all the way up towards your hand, which is absolutely a-okay. We might toe heel, we might use the assist of our hands, or we can walk our hands back if needed. All right, so wherever we are here, let's find tented fingertips. We have our foot on the outside and our hand on the inside. We're gonna reframe that. Right hand parks itself to the outside of the right foot. We're going to try to hover our back knee. Think of that floating tabletop position. Left foot, that's our back foot, is going to step up next to the right. So we're on the right side of our mat. Chair pose with just a round or two of breath. Now we got a nice little leg series here. We're going to park most of our weight to that right leg. Right? Think of shifting the weight. Left leg starts to feel a little bit lighter. Can we step that left foot to the left edge of our mat? So we got this wide variation. Maybe the arms go up. Maybe the hips sink even further back behind us. And encouraging just a round of breath here. Push through your heels. Use your back legs to drive you up tall. Let's take those arms up towards the ceiling. Hands to the heart. Connecting to the breath, letting our heart rate start to settle. Yeah, then I want us to pivot our toes outward so they're shining away from the middle of our mat. We're going to create a very soft bend at our knees. So we're encouraging our center of gravity to dip a little bit closer towards the surface of the mat, towards the floor. And see if we can't warm those ankles up with a little bit of movement and load. Can we lift both heels up off the floor and let them rock back down? What we often find is the first few of these are definitely going to be the most awkward, most wiggliest, until the body starts to adapt to the movement pattern that we're providing it. Let's see if we can't throw in one more lift of the heels and a very slow descent back down. Now we'll straighten out both legs. We'll pivot the toes in, the heels in, the toes in, so we're in Tadasana at the top of our mat. Sweeping those arms high, high, high. Unless you've got an obstacle like the wall like me, we might take them out in front of us. We'll ask our body to fold forward, soft knees, two hands touch down. We're going to find our downward facing dog. Right, transitional purpose, we're going to tap our knees down to the mat. It's our second side where our left leg goes back behind us. We hover the toes, we bend the knee, drive the thigh towards the belly. When you think of that dog pee on the fire hydrant, can you take that left leg off to the left, keep pushing down to that left palm. Try for a breath in and out. And see if we can swing that leg around. And just do our very best to create any type of circular movement here. You might notice how the weight tries to shift off to the right. Keep gluing that left palm down. Try to maintain 3 strong points of contact. A little reverse of the direction. Right, now remember, we're going to try to step that left foot to the outside edge of our left hand. We can always toe heel. We can use the assist of our hands. We can always walk our hands back as well. Left hand then reframes that left foot. Back toes tuck. We're going to think of hovering back knee. Right foot steps next to the left, off to that left edge of our mat. Chair pose. Noticing what begins to surface for you. Giving yourself permission, if and when necessary, to decrease the effort always. Let the breath enter and exit. Now then we get to shift our weight to the left foot, encouraging that right leg to be light so we can take a nice big step off to that right edge of our mat. Now let's see if we can push through our heels, let ourselves come up tall. Just around the toes, we're going to pivot inward so we get some internal rotation out the legs. With our toes inward, I'm going to turn and face you guys here. We're going to try to soften our knees. See if we can't get those heels to once again lift up and down. Let the body kind of do its thing. No worries if you're wiggly and wobbly. If you need to, we can always shift to just one heel up and down first. If you feel like you do have the hang of it, you can always challenge yourself by taking your time to slowly let those heels come down. We're going to throw in one last one. Then I'm going to turn myself back to face this way. Right, we want to heel, toe, back to center. Take our arms high, fold our way forward, soft knees, hands touch down, downward facing dog. And then maybe we take those knees down to the mat, send our hips over our heels, and take a brief opportunity in a child's pose. From child's pose, we're going to walk those arms up. You're feeling that increased stretch sensation. Palms go in place, elbows try to stay straight. Think of pulling your weight up into a tabletop. And from our tabletop, I want you to find your props. Okay, so we have a couple options. Again, we've got that heavy, hardy book, which we can use. If you have a singular block, grab that. If you've got 2 blocks, grab that. But what I want us to do with our props is to place them right in the middle of our mat. So we're essentially trying to dissect it. So if we got 2 blocks, it's going to look like this. If we have 1 block, it's going to look like this. For today, I'm going to go ahead and use a book for any of us who do not have props. And I'm going to stick that right in the middle of my mat, and we get to stand up tall. Now, this class is going to use, we're going to be facing front ways, sideways, and back ways. So how that translates onto a virtual class, I'm not entirely sure. So if needed at any point, feel free to hit the pause button, take whatever phone or computer that you have, and just kind of move it if needed for visual purposes. So we're going to try this out. We have our prop right in the middle-ish of our mat. Right? So we've dissected it into 2 areas. We're going to park ourselves right next to that block. Working on balance. Because we have an obstacle and I don't know what you have, I want you to first place your right foot on top of it and just take a moment to gauge how that feels for you, right? Do you feel comfortable shifting all of your weight onto that right leg? The answer could be yes. The answer could absolutely be a hell no, I do not. Right? In those purposes, you're just going to push your prop off of your mat. Right? For those of us who do want it, we would keep it on there. And I want us to shift all of our weight to that right leg. Now notice left toes are still anchored on the floor, so we have a little bit of stability here. Further gauging how we feel, can we lift our left foot up off the mat? Do I feel okay? Do I feel okay here? Yes or no? If no, we push that prop right off of our mats. And so here we are. We either have a prop or no prop, but we're standing in the middle of our mats. We're going to shift our way over to our right leg. Hover our left foot. We're going to soften standing right leg. Yeah, we're going to tap left toes down, shift weight onto both legs. Use that right leg to push your weight up and let that left leg hover. So both feet tap down, equal weight, shift to the right leg. Let that leg do the work. Yeah, so we squat, we push off the right leg, left leg comes up. And we can gauge how we feel here if we wanted to. Maybe we start moving that left leg around our mats. And we can feel that there's more weight now on that right leg. Okay, so you can always decide, we can stick with just doing this, squatting, pressing, or we can shift the weight to the right leg and ask that left toe to somewhat tap itself around our mat. We're going to take just a couple more rounds here. I'm starting to feel that fatigue there in that right leg. Yeah, let's think of that left foot right where we started. So think of that chair pose or squat as we soften both legs, let our hips sink. And then we just straighten both legs out, let that left arm go high, high, high to the sky. Readjusting our weight to our left leg, the one that's on our mat here. Right heel's gonna hover. I just want you to take a breath in and out. And now when you're ready, we're gonna cross patterns. That means we're gonna ask that right leg to pull up and our left elbow to pull down. Right thigh pulls in, left arm pulls down. And we tap toes back on to gain our sense of stability. Moving at your own pace, find that cross body pattern. And again, depend upon how it feels for you. If you feel stable enough, you might encourage your right foot to no longer touch base with the prop or the floor, increasing the sense of balance required. We'll come back to a familiar pose that we've done in some previous home classes here. Let's think elbow towards thigh, pause. Can we shift our torso towards the right and reach out? Both arms like a capital T. And can you see the familiarity here of our Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, except we're not encouraging the use of our hands, so it's a bit more active in nature. Let's keep that leg floating, twist back to center, arms up overhead. Step that right leg behind you. We encourage both legs to soften and bend. Yep. Can we guide that right leg back to the belly? Twist off to the right, arms wide. We're going to do that again. Twist to center, pause. Step right leg back behind, both knees bent. Right thigh pulls into the belly. We twist torso to the right. Take a breath in and a breath out. Swing that right leg into a very shortened variation of a warrior two. And don't hesitate to rearrange, readjust as needed. Maybe those arms continue to stay wide. Connecting to our breath. Feeling the pose within the walls of our body. Can you feel the strength in the legs, that sense of lift and length of the upper body? And those strong arms that are defying the pull of gravity. All right, from our warrior two, I want us to come into goddess, but we're going to talk specifically to our back foot. All right, we're going to hover our right heel. And notice how the balance starts to get a little wonky here. Can we pivot that right heel to face the middle of our mat so that our right knee turns outward? Now we can try that again, right? So if we lift our right heel, really root down to that front foot, pivot that heel inwards, the knee goes outward, we have our goddess pose. We might hang out here statically, or we might encourage a little rock from side to side, really increasing that intensity in the legs. Building some sensation, building some fatigue for the mind to just be present to. Now this class initially was focused on a yoga class for climbers. So now that we are in our goddess pose, can we pause? Little fancy footwork here. We're going to talk to our left leg. We want to hover that heel up off the floor. Yeah, fancy footwork, we want to pivot that left heel outwards so that our knee pulls inwards. Little drop knee. Heel pulls in, knee goes out. And you can see that translation. And try that one more time. Heel lifts up, heel pivots, 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 knee draws in. Hips are now facing the back edge of our mat. And we still have that somewhat 90-degree bend, but if we need to, we can pop that back foot forward. Let's hang out here. Encourage our breath. Keep that back leg bent, even when we start to tip our torso forward. Almost like the belly's trying to attach itself right on top of your thigh. 2 hands touch down. Front foot, right foot steps back, hovering tabletop. Shorten downward facing dog. From our short down dog, we're going to soften our knees so that our weight sinks backward and our hands walk, walk, walk towards our 2 feet. Depending upon the space, you can round, you can roll. Take those arms high, hands to the heart. Another round, just a pause in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. With eyes closed or open. Let's see if you can't notice the natural rhythmic sway of your body. A lovely reminder that everything is always in flux. Nothing is ever truly static. And now we get to focus on our second side. And again, every side is a little different, so we do have our prop potentially. You may have already removed it. We're going to think, can I set my left foot on top of it? I still have equal weight on both feet. I just want to see, can I rock my weight to my left foot and gauge how I feel? If I feel okay here, I might ask my right heel to hover. I still have points of contact on the floor. Gauging how I feel here, I might ask my whole right foot to pop up. If some of those positions didn't feel good, push your prop off of your mat. And what the prop does, it just gives us a little bit more leg work. Standing left leg now, increasing our sense of ability to balance and return back to our equilibrium. Our body's sense of equilibrium. And so we get to rock our way to the left foot. Gauge how I feel. Keep that right foot glued to the mat. I just want you to bend your knees. Shift weight to your left leg and see if that leg can't straighten. Maybe the right foot hovers. And then the right foot comes down. And we do the same movement. Encouraging that left leg to push to the heel as we find our way up tall. Depend upon how this feels, right? We can ask that back leg, I should say that right leg of ours, to tap anywhere on our mat. Can you feel all the work, not only in the left leg, but also that left ankle? Let's give ourselves just a few more rounds. Moving at whatever pace, tempo, or speed feels most appropriate for you. Then we're going to park that right foot next to our left foot on our mat. We'll take one opportunity to bend both knees. Just kind of shift our weight back up. Rock weight to your right leg when that's off of your prop. Right arm goes high. Left heel hovers. First round, we take our right elbow towards our left thigh. We pull them in towards one another. And we're crossing that midline of our body. And we tap back. Crunch. And we tap. And each time, go ahead and make sure you really give your body or that standing right leg that sense of stability. So encourage that foot to anchor for a moment. And we can decide, do I want to float my left toes? How does it feel? Do I need to tap my toes back down at any point? Moving right along, let's pause. Elbow towards thigh. Rotate chest off to the left. Let your arms wing out. Of course, sometimes we feel a little wiggling wobbly, so again, if those toes ever need a touch down, please give yourself that freedom, that permission to do so. Right, maybe we hang out here, or we have the thigh up. Maybe we're going to rotate torso towards center. I want us to step that left foot backwards, both knees bend, low lunge. We'll take our time, encouraging left thigh to pull back up and in, rotating torso to the left. Again, we step that left foot back, both knees bend, torso squared. Pull thigh up, twist off to the left. Do that one more time. Rotate to center, step left leg back, both knees bend. Thigh pulls in, torso rotates. And then we can see that our hips are facing forward. We want to find that warrior two. So we're going to essentially ask our left side body to swing itself open to our warrior number two. We'll take that moment to pause. Let me catch my breath here. And notice what it's like to marinate in a shorter variation of our warrior two. We only have the back half edge of our mat. And I do have a tendency to want to go wide. Does this feel different? Does it feel off? Does it feel good? Now let's ask our arms to relax. I know we're focusing on our left leg, our left side body. We want to take this position into our goddess pose. So this left leg, we're going to focus on our heel to help us create that fancy footwork. That left heel lifts. Okay, it's a little wiggly and wobbly. We've removed a point of contact. We're going to use that as our pivot point to drive our heel inwards. We'll notice that we are now externally rotated. Hang out here. If this is too much, you can always straighten out the legs to some degree. If you want more work, you might go a little bit lower. You might encourage yourself to move your body weight from side to side. I encourage this to be your practice, and you just take it to the degree that you need to. If you need to pause at any point, you pause. If you need to come into a child's pose, you find a child's pose. Sip of water. Okay, let's hold this. And now we're focusing on our right side body. The hips are essentially facing forward. We want to pivot to face the side wall. back edge of our mat or our front edge. So we're going to think right heel lifts. And again, we're moving a point of contact, so notice how the effort increases. With that right heel hovering, pivot your heel backwards and your knee inwards. Yeah, we're going to try that again. So let's go right back to our goddess pose. Focusing on that back right leg. Let the heel lift. That's our pivot point. So the heel goes backward, the knee goes inward, and we ask our whole right side body to follow. Yeah, and then depending upon how this feels, maybe we rearrange our front foot or back foot, we settle in. We connect to our breath. We let our brain feel the felt sensations of our body, but always giving ourselves that permission to reduce the effort if and when we need to. Back leg's going to try to stay bent. Just hips, or just moving from the hips as we tip our way forward. And keep that back leg bent. 2 hands touch down. Take a breath in and out. Front foot, left foot steps back. Think of that hovering tabletop position. Downward facing dog. We might soften both of our legs, shifting more weight to our back body as we walk our hands towards our feet. Take our time rounding and rolling our hip, tall to stand. Hands anchor at our heart. We encourage ourselves to connect to our breath. Maybe that's sealing our lips and asking our inhale and exhale to enter in and out of our nose. And we just go ahead and push that prop right off of our mats. We'll mosey our way up to the top edge here. And just take a breath in, breath out. Okay, short warm up. Let's go ahead and take our arms high just to fold our way forward. We can plant our 2 hands out in front of us. We have enough space to step backwards into our downward facing. From our down dog, we get to bend our knees to help tap our knees down to the mat. Perhaps we talk to our spine for a moment and just encourage a few rounds of cat-cow, offering them the traditional variation or attempting to move with a bit more creativity, a bit more exploration. And always giving yourself the permission to move at whatever tempo, speed, or rhythm that you'd like. And let's transition from here right into, we'll say first a sitting position. Swinging legs around, and then I'm going to turn and face you guys, and you guys can hang out wherever you are. Coming into what I call the crisscross yoga sauce here. Just check in, notice which leg naturally landed on top. We're kind of foregoing some of our habitual patterns. Can you go ahead and ask your opposite leg to anchor on top or out in front? What we notice is that it tends to feel just a little different. Let's see if we can't take a moment to just hang out here. Finding perhaps a tall spine, letting shoulders relax. So attempting to come into our breath. Not changing anything, just noticing, listening to our inhale and our exhale. Glue our hands to our heart center. And always taking a time to honor our practice, to honor the time that we all have carved out for ourselves, knowing that it is not an easy task to do. We'd just like us to bow down together in order to thank ourselves. We'll slowly make our way back up tall. Let our arms relax. And just kind of take our time coming out of this position. And thank you guys for being here. I look forward to filming the next one and flowing along with you guys outside of the studio and inside our homes. Take care, you guys.